The salt air always smells sweeter out here, out where the world is crisp and sunlit, where Charleston's charm drips from every corner, Spanish moss clinging to the oaks, waves kissing the docks. But today the air feels wrong, heavy, metallic. Vanessa's estate is a cathedral of southern elegance, white columns, endless verandas, and windows tall enough to swallow you whole. I should feel at ease here. I should feel safe. But I don't. I never do. The brunch table is a perfect tableau. Linen napkins folded into swans, crystal glasses sweating with mimosas, and plates of delicate crab cakes no one will finish. Vanessa always overdoes it. She likes her events like her personality, polished, excessive, and cold beneath the surface. And there she is, sipping her drink, red nails clinking against the crystal. She watches me with that sharp, lazy smile, the kind that always feels like she knows something you don't. Camille, she purrs, her voice sugared with southern charm and something bitter underneath. I do hope you're hungry. It's your favorite blend today. Lucas's hand grazes my shoulder as he slides a cup of coffee in front of me. Extra cream, just how you like it, he says softly. His eyes catch mine, and I swear I see something expectant. I reach for the cup, and the scent hits me. Coffee, yes, but beneath it, something off. Something faint, metallic, like pennies on the tongue. My stomach tightens. I've tasted that before. My finger's still on the porcelain handle, and for a split second, I'm back in the ER 2 months ago. My lips cracked, my skin clammy, my heart racing so fast the nurse thought I was having a stroke. And before that, the business retreat. The night I barely made it home before collapsing on the bathroom tiles. The common thread? Meals. Drinks. Shared with Lucas, shared with Vanessa. I catch Vanessa's eyes, cool, assessing. She hasn't touched her cup. My pulse thunders. Do it. Don't do it. I force a bright, brittle laugh. Oops! My hand jerks and the coffee sloshes as I trip into the table. A tiny performance, just enough to let the cup teeter toward Vanessa's place setting. My fingers scramble, a quick flustered switch, and I straighten up with her cup in my hands. Oh, Camille, Vanessa drawls, her eyes narrowing. So clumsy. I smile, wide and easy. Guess I'm just eager for that first sip. I bring the cup close to my lips but don't drink. Lucas shifts beside me. Careful, he says, too quickly. My skin prickles. The air hums between the three of us, dense with something unspoken. Then Vanessa lifts her cup, the one that had been mine, and smirks. Cheers, she says lightly and takes a sip. A long sip. And I watch everything. Minutes stretch, syrupy and strange. Vanessa's smile fades around the edges. She blinks, her tongue pressing against her teeth. Her hand trembles as she sets the cup down with a soft clink. Lucas notices. Vanessa? His voice is tight, too tight. She shifts in her seat, her fingers pressing to her chest. Aye. Her voice is soft, then cracks. Her breath quickens, her lips pale. The veneer of control slips, first from her face, then from her body. Vanessa gasps, a sharp, shallow sound. Her eyes find Lucas, wide with something between confusion and fear. His chair scrapes back. That wasn't. His voice cracks. That wasn't supposed to be your cup. The words hit the air like a gunshot. My heart slams into my ribs. His voice, his panic. I catch every syllable, every jagged edge, and my phone, tucked into my sleeve, is recording every second. Vanessa's hand claws at the linen, her body folding into itself. She sucks in a wet, rattling breath and gasps, You said it'd just make her sick. Lucas is frozen, his face white. Vanessa, her lips quiver. You went too far. I stand, my chair crashing backward. Jesus, my hand fumbles for my phone, and with the other, I dial. 911. My voice cracks. My sister-in-law, she's having some kind of reaction. Vanessa's body seizes. Her eyes, panicked, flick to me. Camille, she croaks. But I don't move toward her. I can't, because I'm staring at Lucas, my husband, and all I can see is the guilt, pure, raw, and naked on his face. The dispatcher's voice buzzes in my ear. Ma'am, is she breathing? Vanessa gasps, her fingers curled in the tablecloth. And Lucas, my husband, my partner, isn't reaching for her. He's looking at me, because he knows. I know. And the camera on my phone is catching every second of this chaos. The coffee cools, forgotten on the table. The hospital is cold, not cold like the air conditioning. Cold like the silence. Cold like the metallic tang in my mouth. The one that won't leave. Cold like Lucas's hand brushing mine and me pulling away, like his touch is acid. I stare at the ER curtain where they took Vanessa, My pulse hasn't slowed since the ambulance doors slammed shut. The ride was a blur, sirens, Vanessa's gasping breaths, the medic's urgent voice. Pulse irregular, pupils constricted. And Lucas, beside me, silent. I haven't stopped shaking. The curtain rustles and a doctor steps out. Middle-aged, blue scrubs, tired eyes. Mrs. Holloway is stable, he says. We're treating her for poisoning, but she's responding well. His eyes flick between us, reading the tension. Do you know what she may have ingested? I speak first. Coffee, just coffee. My voice sounds thin. Lucas cuts in, smooth, practiced. Vanessa has a nut allergy, he says. She must have... Bullshit, I snap. The doctor's eyebrows lift. No nuts, we all had the same thing. Lucas's hand hovers toward me. Camille, I step back. She drank from my cup. My voice trembles. But my throat seizes. I can't say it. I switch them. Lucas's jaw tenses, but his eyes stay soft, calming, persuasive. Camille, he says gently, this is a mistake. Vanessa, she must have had something before we... She said, I cut him off. You said it would just make her sick. My voice rises, the panic cracking through. That's what she said, Lucas, on my recording. His eyes flicker. There it is. Recording? A new voice cuts in. I turn. A man in a dark suit, close-cropped hair, badge on his belt. Detective Monroe, he says, flashing it. His voice is calm but sharp around the edges. I'm here about Mrs. Holloway. He glances between us. You mentioned a recording? My pulse roars in my ears. The phone, my hand is still clenched around it. Yes, I say quickly. Lucas's voice cuts through. My wife's had a traumatizing day, detective. His voice is a soothing purr, his hand almost brushing my arm. Vanessa's always been competitive with Camille. He glances at me, his eyes soft, pleading. She's delusional from the medication. You can't take anything she said seriously. I feel my ribs squeeze. My voice is barely above a whisper. Don't you dare. But Monroe is watching him now, sharp, assessing. That's interesting, he says mildly, because I haven't said anything about what Mrs. Holloway said. The air locks tight. Lucas freezes, but it's a half second, just a flash. Look, he says, shifting to concern. I don't know what you're implying, but Vanessa's my sister. I'd never. From behind the curtain, a rasp. Liar. The room stills. I spin toward the sound, Vanessa's voice low, cracked but clear. Lucas, her throat strains over the words. You said it'd just keep her out of the pitch. My stomach drops into my feet. Monroe's eyes sharpen. What pitch? Vanessa's eyelids flutter. Her voice is slurred, thin with exhaustion. The Holloway account, she mumbles. He said she'd be too sick to present. My ears ring. I feel the blood drain from my face. The Holloway account, my biggest pitch of the year, my account. I'd spent months preparing for it, and then I missed it. I was in the hospital, sick, poisoned. My chest locks and the world blurs. It wasn't just Vanessa. It was him. It was Lucas. Monroe's voice slices in, controlled but urgent. Mrs. Reed, he says, do you have that recording? My fingers feel numb as I swipe, shaking, to my voice memos. Here, I rasp and press play. The audio crackles. My heart thunders as Vanessa's gasps fill the air. You said it'd just make her sick. That wasn't supposed to be your cup. I don't watch Lucas. I can't. I hear the silence next to me, heavy, damning. Monroe's expression doesn't change, but I see the shift in his eyes, the calculation. We'll need a copy of that. My mouth is dry. Take the phone. Take everything. And then, Lucas moves. Not fast, but sharp, deliberate. His hand suddenly on my arm. His voice, velvet and low, Camille. My name, warm, but his fingers are ice. You're upset, you're confused. Vanessa's trying to... My voice comes out raw. Get your hand off me. A beat, then a click. Monroe, cold and firm. Sir, step away from your wife. Lucas stills, and I see it. His face, the shift. The warmth drains away, and something else, something dark, settles behind his eyes. I know that face. It's the one he hides from the world. The one I never wanted to believe was real. But now, there's no hiding. Minutes later, Lucas is led away from the curtain. Not in cuffs, not yet, but under Monroe's sharp eye. Vanessa, pale and sunken, watches him go, and as his form disappears down the corridor, she croaks. I told you, her voice is thin, bitter. He always plays for himself. I should feel something. Relief, anger, fear. But there's nothing. Just the hollow clang of my heart against my ribs. Just the sour taste on my tongue that won't go away, because this isn't over. This is just the first crack. And I can already feel the fault line running under my feet, ready to shatter everything I thought I knew. I don't go home that night. Instead, I drive. Aimlessly at first, past the wrought iron balconies and cobblestone streets of downtown Charleston, the world too bright and too normal for what's happening inside me. Lucas tried to poison me. The thought presses against my skull, an intruder in my own mind. Lucas, the man who kissed my forehead every morning. Lucas, the man who held my hand at my mother's funeral. Lucas, who promised me forever. And he did it for what? A business deal? To sabotage a single pitch? No, that doesn't track. It's too small, too stupid. I pull into a parking lot, empty, quiet, a strip mall that's been closed for hours, and grip the steering wheel. My hands won't stop shaking. My body won't stop buzzing with the need for answers. So I find them the only way I can. I start digging. The first thing I do is pull up my medical records. ER visits, blood work, urgent care calls. The pattern is there. It's in black and white. 6 months ago, violent nausea the night before a huge presentation. 3 months ago, a dizzy spell so bad I collapsed before a charity gala. And 2 months ago, my worst episode yet, hours before the Holloway pitch. I thought it was stress, overwork, bad luck. It wasn't. And Lucas was always there, hovering, bringing me tea, rubbing my back. My stomach twists. Had he been poisoning me this whole time? I dig further. Bank statements, email logs, his old iPad. That's where I find it. A cloud backup. A string of messages between Lucas and Vanessa. Vanessa. She's still moving forward with Holloway. You need to slow her down. I told you I've got it handled. Handled like last time? Because she bounced back pretty damn quick. Trust me, just make sure she's out for the pitch. I slapped the iPad onto the passenger seat, my breath coming sharp and fast. There it is. Proof. They'd been doing this together. A wave of nausea rolls through me, violent and ugly. Lucas, my husband. The man who bought me roses last week. The man who took me to Italy for our anniversary. Did he plan that trip knowing he was slowly poisoning me? Did he hold my hand across candlelit tables and think I just need to keep her weak a little longer? I lunge out of the car, dry heaving onto the pavement. I don't text Lucas, I don't call him. I drive straight to the hospital. Vanessa is awake when I get there, propped up in bed, an IV snaking from her arm. She looks pale but not weak. I step inside, she glances up, smirks. Well, you look like hell. I drop the iPad onto her lap. Tell me everything. Vanessa lifts an eyebrow. Everything about what? I press my hands to the mattress. Don't play with me, Vanessa. I found the messages. A beat. Then something flickers across her face. She exhales slowly, sits up straighter. I guess there's no point in lying, is there? No, there's not. Vanessa rolls her shoulders, wincing slightly. Fine, she says. Yes, Lucas and I talked. Yes, I knew about the plan, but you're wrong about one thing, Camille. I fold my arms. Enlighten me. Vanessa's lips curve, slow and sharp. This wasn't my idea. The words drop between us like a stone in water. I blink. Bullshit. She shrugs. Believe what you want. I shake my head, trying to fit the pieces together. Vanessa hates me. She's always hated me. Ever since I started dating Lucas, ever since I started beating her at the game she'd been playing for years. You had the motive, I say slowly. The competition. The account. The account? Vanessa lets out a dry laugh. Camille, Jesus, you think this is about work? She leans forward, her expression shifting. Something sharp, something I don't like. You don't get it, do you? I grit my teeth. Then explain it. Her lips part. Then, suddenly, her eyes flick past me. I turn. Lucas, standing in the doorway, watching us. The air in the room goes tight. I hear the steady beeping of Vanessa's heart monitor, the soft hum of fluorescent lights overhead, and Lucas, his face unreadable, but his posture wrong. Not relieved, not worried. Calculated. Vanessa shifts in her bed, her voice suddenly smooth. Oh, look. Speak of the devil. Lucas's eyes stay on me. Camille, he says, gently, we need to talk. I feel it again. That ice down my spine. The wrongness. I glance at Vanessa, she meets my eyes, and for the first time I see it. She's afraid of him. Camille, Lucas says again, taking a slow step into the room. Baby, let's go home. Something tightens in my chest. He's trying to lead me out of here, away from Vanessa, away from the police. He wants to get me alone. My throat goes dry. No, Lucas stops, blinks. What? I force myself to stay steady. I'm not going anywhere with you. Silence. Then, softly, Lucas exhales, and he smiles. Not the warm, affectionate smile I've known for years. A different smile, one that chills me to my core. All right, he says, stepping back, if that's what you want. He turns, walks out. I wait until the footsteps disappear down the hall before I let out the breath I was holding. Vanessa watches me carefully. "You just made a mistake," she murmurs. I turn to her, pulse still hammering. "What do you mean?" She tilts her head. "You should have gone with him." I stare. Vanessa leans back against the pillows, smirks. "Now?" she murmurs. "Now he's going to fix his mistake." The air in the room shifts, because she's right. Lucas always has a backup plan, and if he knows I'm not on his side anymore, then I've just become his next problem to solve. I don't sleep. I leave the hospital before Vanessa can say anything else, before she can smirk and drop another cryptic warning, before she can remind me, in that cool, detached way of hers, that my husband, the man I've shared a bed with for 3 years, sees me as a liability. I don't go home. I drive. Not aimlessly this time, but straight to the police station. Detective Monroe is waiting for me. His office is smaller than I expected. Cluttered. Overstuffed bookshelves, a humming desktop fan. It smells like old coffee and paper. He gestures to the chair across from him. "Have a seat, Mrs. Reed." I sit. My hands are locked together, knuckles white. Monroe settles behind his desk, flipping open a notepad. He's unreadable, calm, but assessing. "You found something. It's not a question." I place Lucas's iPad between us. "I found everything." Monroe listens in silence as I go through it all. The medical records, the pattern of my illnesses, the cryptic messages between Lucas and Vanessa, proof that they'd been drugging me, dosing me at key moments to make me sick. And then I drop the final piece on the table, a backup account Lucas didn't know I had. One last, untouched folder. I open it. It's full of screenshots of text messages. "Lucas, unknown number. Lucas, we need a stronger dose this time. She's already suspicious. Then make it look like food poisoning." My pulse roars in my ears. I flick through, shaking until I land on the last one. "Lucas, unknown number. Lucas, no more delays. She's a problem now. Fix it." I shove the iPad toward Monroe. I don't know who he was texting, but it wasn't Vanessa. Monroe picks up the iPad, flipping through the images. His expression doesn't change, but I see the shift, the way he straightens slightly, the way his fingers tighten around the screen. After a long moment, he exhales. "Jesus." I swallow. "What happens now?" Monroe meets my eyes. "Now?" His voice is grim. "We find out who Lucas was working with. I spend the night in a hotel. I don't tell anyone where I am. Not my coworkers, not my friends. Lucas doesn't call. That's what scares me the most. No apologies, no damage control, no texts asking where I am. Just silence. Because Monroe is right. Vanessa wasn't the only one working with Lucas. There's someone else, and I don't know who they are. I don't know if they're coming for me. The next morning, Monroe calls me back to the station. He's waiting with a folder in front of him, thick with paperwork. His face is carefully blank. We trace the number from Lucas's texts. My hands tighten in my lap. And? He flips the folder open, and there, staring up at me, is a photo of a woman I don't recognize. Late 30s, blonde hair, sharp features, professional smile. The name under the photo makes my stomach lurch. Iris Caldwell. I don't know the name, I don't know the face, but Monroe is watching me carefully like he's expecting a reaction. I look up. "Who is she?" Monroe leans forward. "Lucas's ex-girlfriend." My breath catches. Ex, as in before me, before we were married, before we even met, and yet he was still in contact with her. Lucas had Vanessa in his pocket, but Vanessa was reckless, sloppy. He needed a backup. I stare at the photo, bile rising in my throat. "What does she do?" Monroe flips the page. "Corporate consultant, works in pharmaceuticals." A sick, twisting feeling blooms in my gut. "Pharmaceuticals," I echo. The puzzle pieces start snapping into place. The drugs, the sickness, the perfectly timed episodes. Iris Caldwell was supplying him. She was the real source, and she was still out there. Monroe exhales. "Camille, you understand what this means, right?" I nod slowly. Lucas had help, and not just from Vanessa. From someone who knew what they were doing, someone still watching. My voice is hoarse. "Can you arrest him?" Monroe grimaces. "Not yet." He gestures at the iPad. "This evidence, it's enough to build a case, but without direct proof that he personally administered anything, it's not enough for an immediate arrest." My stomach twists. "So what? You wait until he tries again?" Monroe doesn't answer right away. His jaw clenches. Then finally, "We need more." I walk out of the station with my pulse hammering. I feel exposed. I feel watched. I keep my head down, weaving through the crowded Charleston streets. I take a different route back to my hotel. I scan every face I pass, looking for someone, anyone, who might be watching me. Lucas hasn't tried to contact me. That means one of two things. Either he's scared or he's waiting. And I don't know which is worse. I lock myself in my hotel room. I double-check the locks, shove a chair under the door handle. I sit on the bed, my heart racing, my brain screaming at me to do something. And then, a knock at the door. My stomach drops. I creep toward the peephole, heart slamming in my chest. A woman stands there, blonde hair, sharp features, professional smile, Iris Caldwell. My breath locks in my throat. She raises a hand, knocks again, softer this time. Then in a smooth, terrifyingly calm voice, she says, "Camille, we need to talk." I don't move. I can't. I stand there, pressed against the hotel room door, my breath shallow, my pulse hammering so hard I swear she can hear it through the wood. Iris Caldwell. She's standing outside my door like we're old friends. Like we planned this. Like I was expecting her. Another knock. Softer this time, patient. "Camille," she calls again, her voice smooth, professional, controlled. "I know you're in there." A pause. "I think you'll want to hear what I have to say." The air in the room is thick, suffocating. My mouth is dry. I could pretend I'm not here, ignore her, wait her out, but something tells me she won't just go away. Slowly, I unlock the door. Just the chain, not enough to open it fully, just enough to see her face through the gap. Iris doesn't flinch. She's even prettier up close. Sharp blue eyes, high cheekbones. That kind of effortless, put-together beauty that makes you feel unpolished in comparison. She doesn't look nervous. She doesn't look angry. She just looks calm, like she knew this moment was coming. She tilts her head slightly, assessing me. "Can I come in?" I don't move. "Why would I let you?" She exhales through her nose like she expected the resistance. "Because if I wanted to hurt you, Camille, I wouldn't be knocking." My stomach tightens. I don't trust her, not for a second, but I step back anyway. I unhook the chain. I let her in. She moves like she belongs here. Not cautious, not timid, just smooth, measured movements as she steps inside, her heels clicking against the cheap laminate floor. She takes in the hotel room with one quick sweep. My laptop open on the bed, my half-drunk glass of water, the chair I wedged under the door handle. Then she turns back to me, amused. "Expecting someone else?" I swallow hard. "That depends." She lifts an eyebrow. "On?" I grip my arms, keeping my voice steady. "Are you here to kill me?" A beat. Then she laughs, a soft, elegant sound like I just told a joke at a dinner party. "No, Camille." She shakes her head. "If I wanted you dead, you'd already be dead." The matter-of-fact way she says it sends a chill down my spine. I force my face to stay neutral. "Then why are you here?" She studies me for a second, then exhales. "To tell you something you don't know." I cross my arms. "Try me." Iris smirks. "Lucas didn't just marry you for love." The words drop like a stone between us. My jaw clenches. "Yeah, I figured that part out." She shakes her head. "No, you think you figured it out, but you're only seeing half the picture." I say nothing. She takes a step closer. "Did Lucas ever mention me?" I hesitate. "No." Her lips curve. "Interesting." I bite back my frustration. "What does that have to do with anything?" She glances at my laptop, the iPad beside it. "I assume you found the texts?" I nod. She tilts her head. "Then you know about the Holloway account." My stomach knots. "I know he was trying to sabotage me." Iris smiles again. Small, sharp. "Wrong." I stare. "He wasn't sabotaging you," she says. "He was positioning you." The air between us shifts. I shake my head. "That makes no sense." Iris steps forward. "Doesn't it? Think, Camille. Every time you were sick, Lucas was there, helping you, guiding you, and somehow, despite every setback..." She makes air quotes with her fingers. "You kept rising, promotions, board meetings, special projects, and who was always at your side, supporting you, helping you recover?" My mouth goes dry. She gives me a knowing look. "Lucas wasn't trying to destroy your career, he was building it." My stomach lurches. "That..." I shake my head. "That makes no sense. He didn't need to drug me to do that." She shrugs. "Didn't he?" "Think about it. You're ambitious, Camille, smart, independent." She gives me a look like she's spelling it out for me. Too independent. The words land like a slap. I swallow hard. Lucas always supported my career, always encouraged me. But there were moments, conversations that never sat right. Nights where he'd say things like, "You push too hard, Cam. You need to slow down. Let me take care of you." God, God, I take a shaky breath. Why are you telling me this? Iris watches me carefully, because I want him to pay for what he did. A cold, skeptical laugh escapes me. Bullshit, you helped him. She nods. I did. No hesitation, no denial, and now I regret it. I fold my arms. And why is that? She exhales slowly, because he's setting me up too. I blink. She reaches into her bag, pulls out her phone, holds it up. A message glows on the screen from Lucas. Lucas, you've been sloppy. If Camille goes to the police, it's on you. My blood runs cold. She tucks her phone away. Lucas always has a contingency plan, she murmurs. And when things go south, he always makes sure someone else takes the fall. A lump forms in my throat. Lucas had Vanessa. He had Iris. He had me. And now with the walls closing in, he was already choosing who to throw under the bus. Iris meets my eyes. You want to stop him? I nod. She smirks. Then we take him down together. I don't sleep that night. Iris stays for hours, going over everything she has. Texts, records, purchase orders for pharmaceuticals under fake names. A trail of proof that Lucas was the mastermind. That he wasn't just playing Vanessa and me. He was playing everyone. By dawn, we have a plan. It's reckless. It's dangerous. But it's the only way. Because Lucas is smart. Careful. He'll see the police coming. But he won't see me. The next morning, I send Lucas a message. Me, we need to talk. Meet me at the house. Iris glances over my shoulder as I hit send. Think he'll show? I meet her eyes. Oh, he'll show. Because for the first time, I'm the one setting the trap. And I can't wait to watch him walk right into it. The house is exactly how I left it. Untouched. Too untouched. I step inside and everything is wrong. The air is still, thick with that eerie quiet that settles in abandoned places. No dishes in the sink, no shoes by the door, no trace of the man who shared this space with me for 3 years. It's like he was never here, like he knew this moment was coming. I swallow hard and shut the door behind me. Iris waits outside in the car, engine running, phone ready. If things go south, she calls Monroe. But she made it clear, this is my moment, my fight, my trap. Lucas has no idea that I have proof, that I have help. He thinks I'm alone, so I play the part. I drop my bag onto the counter, exhaling sharply. Lucas? No answer. I move into the living room, slow, deliberate. My heart slams against my ribs. I press my palms together to stop them from shaking. Then, finally, a quiet voice behind me. You finally came home. I turn. Lucas stands in the hallway, watching me. His suit jacket is gone. Just a button down, sleeves rolled up. Casual, controlled. He looks relaxed, like I just walked in from work, like nothing is wrong, like he's still my husband. Camille, he says softly, stepping closer. I was starting to worry about you. I let out a short, sharp laugh. Oh, you were worried about me? He tilts his head, studying me. You didn't answer my calls. I cross my arms. Funny, you didn't make any. His lips twitch, a small, knowing smile. No excuses, no fake concern. Because he doesn't need to pretend anymore. I take a slow step forward. You poisoned me. My voice is steady, cold. For months, Lucas exhales, shaking his head. Camille, I have the messages, I continue. I know everything, the drugs, the sickness, the why. My breath hitches. You needed me to need you, right? You wanted to keep me weak so you could play hero, so I wouldn't leave. Lucas's expression doesn't change, but I see it. That flicker of something in his eyes. Not guilt, not regret. Just annoyance. Like he's disappointed in me, like he really thought I wouldn't figure it out. He steps forward, closing the space between us. You should sit down, he says smoothly, like he's offering me something. Like I need his permission to stay upright. My stomach twists. He's still doing it. Still talking to me like I'm fragile, like I'll break, like if he just keeps pushing, I'll let him take control again. And for a long time I did. I let him steer the ship. I let him decide. Not anymore. I lift my chin. Vanessa flipped on you. Lucas stops. That gets his attention. For the first time, I see something crack in his carefully constructed facade. She made a deal, I continue. She told Monroe everything. I let the words settle, let them work their way under his skin. They're coming for you, Lucas. A long, slow silence. Then his lips part, his jaw ticks, and then he laughs. It's soft, at first. A slow exhale, a shake of the head. Then deeper, fuller, like this is the funniest thing he's ever heard. I go still. His laughter fades, and he looks at me with something between amusement and pity. Oh, Camille, he murmurs, you still don't get it, do you? A cold prickle crawls up my spine. I force my voice to stay level. What don't I get? Lucas tilts his head, his smile widening. You think I didn't plan for this? My heart stops. You think Vanessa was my weak link? He exhales through his nose, shaking his head. She was yours. The words land like a gut punch. I blink. What? His voice stays soft, soothing. Vanessa wasn't trying to protect herself, Camille. She was trying to protect you. My stomach twists. I shake my head. That's bullshit. Lucas smiles again. Is it? I clench my fists. You used her. His expression flickers with something close to boredom. Of course I did, he says, and you hated her for it. You were so focused on how much she resented you, so convinced she wanted you gone. He steps closer. You never considered the truth. I swallow hard. Which is? Lucas shrugs. Vanessa was never trying to take you down. She was trying to keep you alive. The world tilts. I force myself to breathe, to think. He's lying. He has to be lying. Vanessa helped him. She admitted to it. Oh God, I hear her voice in my head, low and strained. I never wanted you dead. He did. The look in her eyes when she said, I wanted to control him before he controlled you. The fear in her voice when she warned me, now he's going to fix his mistake. I thought she meant me. But what if? A sharp buzz jolts me back to reality. My phone. I glance down. A message from Iris. Iris, Vanessa's in surgery. Someone got to her first. My heart slams against my ribs. I look up at Lucas. His gaze is calm, steady. You planned this, I whisper. His smile is slow, pleased. I told you, he murmurs. I always have a contingency plan. The air thickens, my hands tremble. Lucas tilts his head. You look pale, sweetheart. I realize too late that my breath is uneven, that my vision is tunneling, that my legs aren't steady. I sway. Lucas reaches for me. Come here, baby. I jerk back, slamming into the counter. My pulse roars. Something is wrong. The room is tilting, the edges blurring. My hands feel too heavy, my limbs sluggish. I lift my eyes. Lucas watches me, patient, unbothered. Did you really think, he says softly, I'd let you set the trap? The glass. The fucking water glass. I barely have time to process it before my legs give out beneath me. Lucas catches me, holds me against his chest, murmuring into my hair like a lover, like he hasn't just drugged me. My body is limp, my vision flickering. I can feel my heart slamming against my ribs, too fast, too wrong. His lips brush my temple. Shh, he whispers. I've got you. The last thing I hear before the darkness takes me is his voice, calm, steady, loving. Let's go home, sweetheart. In and out, heavy, distant, like I'm floating just beneath the surface of my own body, weightless and untethered. The world flickers in and out, blurred edges, muffled sounds, something cool against my cheek. I'm moving. No, I'm being moved. The smell of leather, the distant hum of tires on pavement, the car, Lucas, the memory slams into me all at once. The hotel, the water glass, the slow, awful realization that I had just walked into his trap. I try to move, but my limbs are wrong, heavy, unresponsive. My head lolls to the side and I force my eyes open just enough to see him. Lucas, driving, calm, humming softly, fingers tapping against the wheel like this is just another night. Panic slams through me, sharp and electric. I try to speak, but my tongue is thick, my voice barely a whisper. Where? My breath shudders. Where are we? Lucas glances over, and for a second I almost believe he looks relieved, like I've just woken up from a nap and he's been waiting patiently. Hey there, he murmurs, his voice warm, affectionate. You had me worried for a second. I try to sit up, but my body doesn't cooperate. Lucas exhales, shaking his head. Don't, he says gently. You're still feeling it. My pulse roars. What did you do to me? He sighs. Just something to take the edge off. He gestures to the console between us. You were getting so worked up, Cam, when I didn't want you to do something you'd regret. Something cold slithers down my spine. He's talking like this is normal, like I'm being dramatic, like he didn't just drug me and throw me in his car. I clench my jaw. Where are you taking me? Lucas hums, thoughtful. Home, obviously. The word slams into me. Home. Our house. No. I can't go back there. I push against the fog in my brain, trying to sit up, trying to reach for the door handle. But my fingers are useless, clumsy. My body won't obey me. Lucas notices, his grip tightens on the wheel, his voice stays calm. Don't do that. I ignore him, I fumble with the handle, but my fingers slip uselessly against the metal. Lucas sighs. Camille. I keep trying. Then, a sharp jerk. Lucas swerves the car to the right, sending me crashing against the door. My skull smacks against the window with a sharp crack. I suck in a breath, vision swimming. Lucas exhales through his nose like I'm an unruly child. That was stupid. Pain flares through my head. I grip my teeth. Go to hell. Lucas lets out a quiet laugh. Sweetheart, he murmurs, I'm the only thing keeping you out of hell. I don't know how long we drive. The sedative keeps pulling me under, my thoughts fractured and disjointed. Then, finally, we stop. Lucas moves first, stepping out of the car and walking around to my side. He opens the door, crouching so we're face to face. His eyes soften. Let's go inside, okay? I don't move. Lucas sighs, then reaches for me. His hands are firm, too strong, wrapping around my arms as he pulls me from the car. My legs buckle, but he catches me easily, like he knew they would. Like he's done this before. He presses his lips to my hair. I've got you, he murmurs. Revulsion coils in my gut. The house is dark, quiet. He takes me inside, guiding me toward the couch. My body is still sluggish, but my mind is racing, every nerve in me screaming danger, danger, danger. He lets me go. Watching as I sink onto the cushions, my fingers twitch against the fabric, barely moving. Lucas crouches in front of me, tilting his head. You're panicking. His voice is gentle, patient. I get it, this is a lot, but you need to understand something, Camille. He leans in. I never wanted to hurt you. My breath shudders. He reaches out, brushing his fingers against my cheek. I did everything for us. A sharp, bitter laugh rips from my throat. For us? He nods. Everything I did to protect you. I stare at him, disbelief crashing over me. You poisoned me. Lucas exhales like he's tired of repeating himself. I kept you safe. I shake my head. You tried to kill me. He frowns. No, Camille, that was Vanessa. Something cracks in my chest. She was helping you. She was trying to control me. His expression darkens. She never understood what we had. I clench my fists. She knew what you were. Lucas sighs, rubbing a hand over his face. I should have handled her sooner. I go still. The words settle in the air between us, and something shifts. Lucas isn't worried about Vanessa because she's not a problem anymore. My stomach twists. What did you do to her? Lucas tilts his head, amused. Oh, now you care? A lump forms in my throat. I know deep down that Vanessa was no saint. She was selfish, cruel, complicit. But she didn't deserve this. None of us did. Lucas sighs, rolling his shoulders. Look, he says. The way I see it, you have two options. I swallow hard. You can keep fighting me. His voice stays light, casual, and I'll have to do something drastic. My breath catches. He shrugs. Or, he reaches for my hand. I jerk away, but he just smiles. We fix this. We move past it. We go back to how things were. My pulse hammers. He says it so easily, like it's a real choice. Like I could just forget. Like I could pretend that I don't know who he is now. I meet his eyes. You're insane, Lucas smiles. Then casually, he pulls out his gun. My breath locks in my throat. Lucas tilts his head. Think very carefully, Camille. I stare at the weapon in his hands. Sleek. Familiar. This isn't the first time I've seen it. He keeps it in the bedroom. Third drawer. Safety always on. A precaution, he told me once, but the safety isn't on now. My heart slams. Lucas leans back. You're smart, he murmurs, so be smart now. Silence. Then, a sharp knock at the door. Lucas doesn't move, but I see it. Flicker of tension in his jaw. Another knock, louder. Then a voice. Lucas Reed. I go still. Lucas's grip tightens around the gun. The voice speaks again. Open the door. Charleston PD. The knock comes again, louder. Lucas Reed. Open the door. I hold my breath. Lucas doesn't move. His grip on the gun tightens, knuckles going white. His jaw is clenched so hard I can hear his teeth grind. He doesn't look at me, just stares at the door. Thinking. Calculating. And for the first time I see it. This is the moment Lucas has spent his life preparing for. The moment where he chooses fight or surrender. And I realize deep in my gut that I don't know what he'll do. Another knock. Lucas Reed, we have a warrant. Silence. Then, slowly, almost lazily, Lucas exhales and turns to me. Camille, he murmurs, voice calm. I need you to listen to me very carefully. My breath catches. I want you to say something. He tilts his head. I want you to tell them you're fine. My pulse slams against my ribs. I shake my head. No, Lucas doesn't react. He just watches me, unreadable. You will. I lift my chin. Or what? Lucas blinks. Then he lifts the gun, not at me, at himself. My stomach drops. What? I walk out there, I'm done. His voice is even, almost detached. Everything I built, gone. My career, my reputation, my life. He tilts his head, watching my reaction. But if I die here, he shrugs, you get to play the victim. I stare. The air thickens. "You're bluffing," I whisper. Lucas smiles. "Am I?" I can't breathe. Because he might not be. Lucas doesn't do losing. He doesn't do humiliation. If he can't control me, if he can't spin this into his version of events, then what does he have left? Nothing. And Lucas doesn't do nothing. The door rattles. "Open up now!" Lucas exhales, like he's made his decision. His finger moves, just slightly, toward the trigger, and something inside me snaps. I lunge. I don't think. I don't plan. I just move. I grab for his arm, throwing my full weight into him. Lucas stumbles back, startled. His grip loosens for half a second, just long enough for me to slam my elbow into his wrist. The gun clatters to the floor. He moves fast, faster than I expect. His hands clamp around my arms, shoving me back against the wall. "God damn it, Camille!" A bang. The door bursts open. Monroe, gun raised. "Step away from her now," Lucas freezes. His grip tightens on me just for a moment, before his arms slowly lift. His face is unreadable. But I see it. In his eyes. The game is over. The next moments blur. Monroe's voice, sharp and commanding. Lucas on his knees, hands behind his head, cuffs snapping into place. I press myself against the wall, arms wrapped around my chest, shaking. Lucas glances up at me as Monroe pulls him to his feet. And then he smiles. They lead him out the door. I watch as he steps into the flashing lights, the swarm of officers. I hear the reporters outside, shouting his name, snapping pictures. And through it all, Lucas stays calm, unbothered, like he's still in control. He doesn't look at the cameras, he looks at me, and in a voice only I can hear, he murmurs, "This isn't over." 6 months later, the air feels lighter now, brighter, like I can finally breathe. Lucas was convicted of attempted murder, conspiracy, and fraud. The trial was a spectacle. The media dubbed it the brunch betrayal. Every news outlet ran with the story. The loving husband who secretly poisoned his wife for years. And me? I testified. I told my story. The truth. I watched Lucas's face as they read the verdict. Guilty. I waited for a reaction, some flicker of emotion. But there was nothing. Just that same careful mask. Like he had already planned his next move. I don't give interviews, I don't do talk shows, I move forward. And today, I win. I stand on stage at a business conference, the one I was never supposed to make it to. The one Lucas tried so hard to keep me from. I take a breath. I speak. The most dangerous enemies, I say, are the ones you trust. Silence. The audience holds its breath. But surviving them, I lift my chin. That's your greatest victory. Applause. Cameras flash, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like myself again. A knock at my hotel door. I freeze. The hairs on my arms rise. I swallow hard, my fingers tightening around the doorknob. Slowly, carefully, I look through the peephole. A package, no sender, no label, just my name. I stare at it for a long, long time. Then finally, I open it. Inside, a single photograph. Lucas, in prison, sitting across from a woman, blonde hair, sharp features, Iris Caldwell. My breath catches. I lift the photo, heart hammering, and underneath it scrawled in familiar, perfect handwriting, "See you soon, sweetheart."